We're back on the Exit 52 podcast on a Sunday night live series recap here for you. It is May 12th, 7:15 p.m. here in the Baltimore area. A little bit of on and off rain all day. On and off day for the Orioles, who lose 9-2 to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They do take the series, though, after a couple of close wins earlier in the weekend. My name is Jake Luke. I'm joined, as always, by 2 out of 3 RDT, whose name makes sense this time around, which is nice. How are we doing tonight, sir?
Good. We are here again, another series win, and the Birds just kind of keep trucking along, and that's just what they've been doing for the last 2 years. So successful weekend in Baltimore, even with the loss today against Zach Gallen, but can't win them all. But hey, again, series win, we take those.
Yeah, it's a quiet one. It's a sleepy one. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing though. When things are just kind of workmanlike, and you just sort of get through these series, you win 2 out of 3, you shrug your shoulders. People aren't too angry about the loss today, it doesn't seem like, which is nice. It just felt like the offense really didn't have their stuff, and they've certainly had plenty of games like that throughout the year. But there were some exciting moments. I mean, Friday night we had the debut of Ruben Splash, Uncle David Rubenstein getting into the bird bath there. You were in attendance for that one, I believe, and I watched it on Apple TV, or at least I watched it on Apple TV. We don't have to get into it, but interesting appearance by him on the broadcast there. He was getting interviewed by the lady who does their sideline reporting,
Trisha Whitaker.
Yeah,
she usually does Rays stuff. I think she's like the Rays.
Yeah, she's in Tampa. She was talking about the Trop a lot on that broadcast, so that would make sense. But yeah, she did a good job with him. She asked him some good questions, and I don't know, he just seemed to be really soaking up the moment. Pun very much intended. Somebody brought a sign talking about him having a bobblehead. He kind of played right into that. Dropped a nice line about how I spent $1.5 billion to be able to do this. So he's just you keep saying it, but he seems to be a guy who gets it. And we haven't got the extensions yet. We haven't gotten really anything super tangible quite yet, but so far so good, I think, on the PR front, which is nice.
Yeah, and again, I know that was a big thing like this past week, and people being like, I don't care if he's doing Mr. Splash, like sign extensions and all this. And again, that's what everybody wants. And I'm sure they're gonna come, and again, moves are gonna be made. But it's like the ink is still barely dry on his own deal. Like, he's on the team for 3 months. It's like, these things, you don't just snap your fingers and go, here's this money and you stay for this long. And they're like, yeah, okay. So again, it'll come. It'll come. But yeah, Friday was fun. I mean, it was a great atmosphere at Pickles. Before the game, a lot of people, a decent amount of Diamondbacks fans there too. They were very nice and eager to. They were excited to be at the ballpark and be in Baltimore and all that. But yeah, and then going into the game on Friday, again, Centerfield Bar, it was weird because again, we went to Pickles and we're like, all right, do we try and go get the Mr. Splash bobblehead, or do we stay at Pickles and we'll wait out the lines? We waited out the lines. We walked in. We were at Pickles while the national anthem was going off in the fireworks. And we walked in and they had boxes of bobbleheads. So the weather really sucked. It took me an hour from my house to the park, which is crazy. So again, it was a weird day with traffic and the weather and all that, but the game was fun. We walked around a little bit and me and my friends actually got to right behind the bird bath. Happy bath anniversary, Jake. One of the cleanest apps ever caught on tape a year ago today. And as we were walking by the bird bath, I kind of just figured like, oh, he's already gone by now or whatever. And he was walking up the aisle. So it was like, I mean, the amount of security there, and it's not even Orioles security. It's his personal security. They don't work for the Orioles. They work for him, which was interesting. So that was cool to see. And again, I was like, I was 5 feet away from a billionaire, and I can now say that I've literally with my own 2 eyes seen a billionaire, which I had never done before.
Really,
but that it was seeing there were guys around him and people were taking selfies, and the bags. I don't know if you saw that they were handing out bags to everyone in the splash zone and all that with a hat and a gift card and a note. So that was cool. And again, it was a good win. It was a fun win. Like the just the way that they were able to do it. And again, Cole Irvin just pitched his off again. Shocker. Just seems to be what he does now. Again, it was nice to get that like City Connect bad taste out of our mouths, and they won in that. So it was good.
And Apple as well. And Apple as well.
Yes, because the last game that was the Apple City Connect game was the Jackson Holiday game with the Brewers. I think it was like 11-1 or 10-1 or something like that. So yeah, it was nice to get that stink out of their mouth, but or whatever, stink out of their mouth. That's a taste out of their mouth. That doesn't make any sense. And then Saturday's game I thought was maybe one of their biggest wins of the year. Just how they did it, the way they did it, who pitched, Kimbrel coming in and closing it. I know we talked about it a little bit, but that was a great win. Today was kind of just a throwaway game. Again, you've already won the series. You're going against Zach Gallen, and whatever happens, happens. Obviously, you want to win every game, but it's not going to play out like that. But I thought they played well this weekend, and I'm pretty excited for again how they're playing, and just watching the evolution of Jordan Westburg as a baseball player is so much fun. It's very fun. And now hopefully we have the series of Mountie coming up with the Blue Jays coming into town tomorrow for 3. So
yeah, the Prime Minister of Canada going to be showing out again. But yeah, Westburg, I mean, he kind of has to be the story of the series for me again, because what is that, 2 or 3 walk-offs for him now this year in different capacities. And man, that was a lot of fun. And it's nice to have a guy at the bottom of the lineup who can do that, particularly when you're going to have games like today where a bunch of the bats go cold. Let's say you can get a guy like him who can get things going a little bit from the back of the order. That's very, very helpful. So yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch. Really awesome stuff. I kind of wonder after that game. I mean, like that's, 2 series in a row. I mean, obviously it was a shorter series with the Nationals, but they had one go deep into extra innings. They had another one go deep into extra innings here. Weather's been shitty still in the area. Like I gotta wonder if these guys are starting to get a little exhausted. I feel like I am myself, and I'm not even doing half the stuff they are physically. So.
And that's why it was big. I mean, they had 2 off days last week, and I think they have one to this week, I believe. Yeah, I think they're off on Thursday again. And again, this is their longest homestand of the year. So crazy that they're going to have these 2 off days on a homestand. With last Thursday coming back from DC, it's not a travel day. And then having one this Thursday. But again, the Blue Jays and then the Mariners. But yeah, I feel you. I think they are. Not kind of wearing down, but again, I think now it's kind of like, all right, what are they 35, 40 games into the season. And you're like, all right, well, now you're kind of starting to feel some aches and pains and some bruises, and, got to start getting Adley off his feet a little more, which they did today with DH and stuff like that. But yeah, I think you're right. And again, I mean, we're seeing some of the guys. I mean, Santander, teased us a little bit last Sunday with his game against Cincinnati, and then kind of went cold again, and then had the home run that kick-started stuff in DC, and then he had the tying home run the Saturday night, but he's still not really hitting like we thought. Cowser again is very cold. Mullins has been benched now 2 games in a row because of how cold he is. They were even like, oh, Gunnar's not really hitting that ball that well. Then he hits the ball 155 feet in the air for his league-tying 12th home run. But again, it's just, and we're seeing Adley kind of slow down. You can't go 4 for 5 every game or 3 for 4 like he was, but it's just baseball. It's just the ebbs and flow of baseball. Again, that's just what's going to kind of happen. And you just need 1 or 2 guys to kind of carry you. And it seems like Westburg is the guy carrying right now. It's so funny. And I think Spenny and I were talking about it. Like, this guy's hitting 7th in the Orioles lineup. Like he would be hitting cleanup or the 3-hitter in some lineups, and he's just hitting 7th down there, batting like 306. So it's a great problem. It's a fun problem to have with him. Just hitting the cover off the ball like he did. Not on. I don't look at the exit velocity on the walk off, because he wasn't hitting the cover off the ball but hey, it worked. So
what a dance with mi hermano as well.
I don't know what that was. By the way, shout out again. We've said it on here a couple times, but shout out to him because he has played his ass off. He had, he scored from first. That was so much fun to watch live in the stadium, because the second you saw that it was hit and you said, all right, this is splitting the gap. You knew Mateo was off, and he's not stopping. So like watching the relay, like, all right, it's coming in. Where is he, in relation to the throw? And the call on Apple TV was god awful. You heard it, right? Did you hear that? The AI
I was into them. Yeah, I mean, like, people were kind of really dumping on them. I don't know. I think the presentation actually is really good. They'll give you like guys up. It's reach base percentage when they have runners on. It's RBI percentage. Predictor. Those are really cool. Like, I like some of the stuff they do. The commentators, they didn't really bring a ton of juice, but they're just in a weird spot where you're on a streaming service and you're not Brian Anderson, and like they're not trying to be. So I don't know. It's just kind of a weird no man's land those guys are in. And I give him a little bit of a pass. It's tough.
It was just the AI call, he's gonna score. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. People were like, it sounds like a video game, and it does. Like, I play the show, and that's exactly what they sound like. But, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because they stole all the audio and TV wires out of Masson's home broadcast booth, and then they set them up in theirs. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. So I know people weren't too thrilled about that, but yeah, that was fun to watch me Hermano kind of do that. And then I don't know what the dance was, but that was a good one. And again, just the way they won that game on Saturday night. It means that clearly did not have his best stuff. But then and I did make a mistake of saying this. I was talking to people and I said, they got to get the bullpen thing figured out. Once they get bullpen figured out, I think they'll really go. And my buddy, it's not the bullpen, it's Kimbrel to this point. Because again, Aiken has been awesome. Mike Baumann won that game for them on Saturday, I think. He really patched it together. He's pitched his ass off the last 2 or 3 times, and he kind of knows he's out of options. So this may be the end of the road for him, and he's quite literally his job. Trying to even think who else came in. Again, Aiken's been awesome. Baumann, Coulomb is literally lights out every time. I know they said 9 guys. He's I think so. I think that was the one. I forget when it was, but they said he's come in and faced 9 inherited runners, and none of them have scored. Which is, that's been just a game and a half. So again, and then it was nice seeing Kimbrel on Saturday. Jacob Calvin Myers said people were booing him. I didn't hear any boos. I wasn't looking for them though, but I didn't hear anything.
I'm
sure people were, but
it was after I think he might have walked a guy, and they started to come in a little bit. And obviously I'm biased, but I was a little all right, I'm not a big boo at professional sporting events anyway. It's that's not going to do anything. I might as well they're trying, right? I'm going to just support the guy, and then unless somebody's literally not even trying or giving their best effort, then maybe I'll throw a boo or two out there. But since I've probably been 19, 20 years old, I've just completely forsaken it. I think it's kind of a stupid exercise. But fan how you want, I'm not here to police that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But again, it was nice to see him come in. And again, he pit. It was funny because after the Nationals debacle, where they were we're going to kind of dial him back a little bit, and we maybe give him a couple days off. It's Friday, he's in there in the 7th, and just it was the 7th inning. It was a high leverage situation. There was where they were up 2, I think at that point, or maybe 1. I can't remember if they were up 2 or 1, but again, it was the 7th inning of a close game. And he did his job, and that's what you want from him. And then you flip flop it the next day. I thought there was no chance he was pitching that day because again, I thought Hyde would, we've seen he can't go back to back, so we can't do that. They threw him right in there in the 11th. He warmed up, and I was like, oh my god. And then they kind of sat him down, and then he warmed up again. They put him in the 11th, and you could tell first pitch he didn't really have it. And then Spenny said in our group text, he had that one high fastball. And from there, he just seemed to go. And he hit the guy, sack fly, hit the guy. And again, it's not easy coming in extras with one of the fastest base runners in baseball on second. Because they got the sack fly, hit by pitch, and that's when you're all right, well, this is done. Here we go.
I mean, part of our job here as fanalists, to whatever extent we are, that is to give takes and give our opinions, and we try to stay in. I think we're managed to be on the more rational side. We try to stay as informed as we can. We try to base our opinions on all that as we can. And man, after that National Series, you would have thought his career was over. I mean, shout out to Brian with Johan Ramirez. We were kind of talking about Craig in the same way there on that recap show. And I honestly, I don't think we had much of a reason to think otherwise, that man, he might have completely lost his confidence here. And I definitely think he was assisted by the fact that it was a lower leverage spot. But you're right. It was a closer game. Still the 7th inning, they definitely needed to get something out of him. And then he gets in there and fires that high heat in there, like Spenny said. And yeah, that's what was really working for him when he was on the roll. And it's a lot probably harder to throw that high heat, especially for an older guy like him, than maybe it seems. But it's kind of just maybe guys in that situation overcomplicate things a little bit, where it's very easy to sit from the outside and say hey, why don't you just go back to the high heat? Why don't you just throw that? It sounds super easy, but also there's a point of hey, maybe the simplest way is the best way to go sometimes. And whatever you got to do to get back to that place that you were in mentally or physically, like try to do it. And, maybe Hyde pushed the right buttons and that's what got him there. So kudos to all of them involved. I think we were, all pretty down on the Craig Kimbrel experiment as of, not that long ago. And now I wouldn't say I'm all the way back in, but I'm encouraged by what I've seen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right there. And again, I don't know if you watched the press conference with Hyde last night after Saturday's game.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and I never thought about this. He said he called down to the dugout or the bullpen and was talking to Kimbrel. I always just assumed, I would never even think that they talked to some of the guys in there. I just thought that they always talked to the pitching coach out there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I told him, he said, Danny's going to get the first 3. And then after that, we're going to put you in. And I wish that he would have elaborated on this more, because he said, I asked him if he was okay with that. And he started to talk about it. And then he just goes, the response I got from him. And he almost seemed to get choked up. If you go back and watch it, it's on YouTube on Masson. He almost got emotional, and he was like, it was such a pro answer. And I wanted someone to kind of dig and be like, what was the answer? First I thought he was going to be I can't say the word that he said. I thought he, let's strike this fucker. I thought it was going to be a major league, strike this fucker out or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he, again, Hyde was it was very strange how he approached that conversation. But again, he was whatever he said worked. And yeah, he did the job. But again, that's what impressed me most about the win was the comeback win. Santander in the 8th with 2 outs, tying it up. And then they eventually get the Kimbrel, Cano. I don't know if you saw the later innings of that game, but Cano made 2 just fantastic plays.
Was this the game where he closed it out essentially and he had the ball bounce off his foot? Or
no, that was Friday. That was to win the game on Friday. But so he made that play. And then Saturday, he made a similar play where he had the bounce off the mound in the same area, make that play and just chucked it, got him. And then there was a play to end the inning, 2 outs to Mountcastle. Mountcastle makes another great play. Shocker. That guy is an all-star. Makes a great play and has to flip it to Cano. And Cano had to catch it, get his feet down, not hit the bag, not hit the runner. And it was a gorgeous play. He's a PFP king. So good for him. He's pitching awesome as well. I feel like he's kind of underrated right now. They're not really talking about him, but again, just the way they won that game and pulled that out. There were guys I talked to after the game and they were like, this team is very, very good. That's a win that a very good team comes away with. Just again, the way they did it, the circumstances, everything. So that was awesome. And again, I think with the Yankees winning today, I think they still have a half game lead. The Orioles do. But again, just an overall, a fun series. They're still not really hitting the hell out of the ball. They had the one game a week ago, but they're kind of 2 runs, 5 runs, 4 runs, I guess 7 runs against the Nats. And then, it's again, the bats will get going, I assume soon, but again, all they're doing is winning games right now. So that's what's important.
Yep. I'm with you on going back to what you were saying about Hyde. I definitely really like the way that he's handled a lot of these issues where he's kind of willing to just be the sacrificial lamb in the media and go out there and take the PR hits. And I don't know, he's probably clinging on to Kimbrel by necessity, just to the fact that who are they going to go and get that can provide them anything in those late spots? So, maybe he's not this, kind of messianic figure that's, some might portray him to be, but overall, I think that speaks very well of him. One thing that I am interested to see here is when Austin Hayes' rehab is done, are we just going to get him up and we say goodbye to Ryan McKenna once and for all? Because I don't know, I'm kind of worried about that he wants to hang on to that base running speed and that utility kind of guy. I kind of just want to stick with Kjerstad, have Hayes come up and just say sayonara to McKenna. Nothing against the guy, but I think where my thoughts on all that lays.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And again, with Mateo's ability to play, I guess play outfield now. Again, if you need someone, you can put him out there. But yeah, again, I guess he's fast. I got to look at his Baseball Savant page, Ryan McKenna, and see where he ranks on his sprint speed and all that stuff. But he's not a good base runner. We've seen him picked off a couple times, and he's very shaky in the outfield. Again, in DC, I mean, he had some bad routes. He had the bad throw in extra innings. It's weird out there with him.
So he's not fast. He's not a good base runner. He doesn't have a good arm. He can't really hit.
he hits lefties okay, but and that's what sucks right now with Mullins just being so bad. It's like, I tweeted it Friday night. I said I would start McKenna against against lefties and put Ced on the bench. That's how bad Cedric's been. But yeah, I don't know. And again, Austin Hayes coming back will clear all that up. And I think you're right. I think they will keep Heston up. Who again, I don't know. I haven't been impressed by him. He had a rough day in the field yesterday too, slamming into that wall. He kind of like twisted his ankle. I don't know if you saw that. He had the nice catch, and it's funny. I saw someone tweet, and they were like, "This is why Heston's in the game." And someone was like, "That's a stand-up routine catch for any of the other outfielders that the Orioles have." Like that's like that ball. Austin Hayes catches that ball standing up every time. Like it wasn't the Gurriel catch on Friday night in the deep canyon. Like it's not Willie Mays. Like he caught a ball, but I don't know. I like Heston. He hasn't impressed me or anyone really, I guess, right now since he's been up. But people are like, you got to get him in the lineup. You have to. You're ruining him. And it's like, well, they're winning baseball games. So
tying it all together, it's just kind of one side and the other of Hyde's sort of loyalty thing that he goes with, where it's like on the one side, it's very cool that he'll stick with a guy like Kimbrel and even Cano when he's had his struggles and things like that. And then the other side of it is, man, maybe we're hanging on to one guy or the other for too long. But also to the point that you've made, he's not the guy necessarily making the roster decisions on a grander scale. He makes them day to day, obviously, but it's not like he's the one responsible for, when are they going to call Jackson Holiday up earlier in the season? I think, people would maybe conflate him with Elias in that respect. But I don't know. It's one of those things where he reminds me a little bit of John Harbaugh, where there's, he's going to say something to the media and a lot of people are not going to be happy with it. And he just doesn't care because that takes the heat off his players. And that's exactly what he wants. He doesn't want them to have to deal with anything more than they have to. And I don't know, sometimes it works pretty well. So
he did that as we were recording the last one after the Nats, when he came out and he said, listen, Kimbrel is our guy. We're sticking with him. And I did what are we doing here? Like, how can you keep doing this? And then again, after I get some time to sit down and think about it. And it was like, oh yeah, like of course he's not going to immediately after the game, be like, no, that guy sucks. We're not doing that anymore. Like, that's a Twitter thing to do. That's what I do. That's what other people do. But he's not going to do that because he's a professional. He's a manager. Like he can't do that. So behind closed doors, it may have been a different conversation, but yeah, like you said, in front of the media, he's going to say the right thing and he's going to back his guys because again, this guy's been in the league 15 years. He's going to the Hall of Fame. Like, Brandon Hyde is going to have 100% faith and put all of his eggs in that basket because that's his guy. So I get it. I fully get that. But I definitely know what you're saying about the Harbaugh thing. But again, I mean, Hyde, I'm fine with him. I didn't like going to Kimbrel again in the 11th the other night, but it backfired on me. I'm happy that it did, but it's as long as they're winning games, I really don't care. I don't, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, that's what they continue to do and what it comes down to. Like people, it seems a little less vitriolic now than it did a couple weeks ago, doesn't it? Where, when it was earlier in the season and you want to sort of, I don't necessarily want to say doomsay or paint one thing about the Yankees running away with the division or what. At the end of the day, the proof's in the pudding and they're 26-13 right now. That's 2-1. And we're well into this thing. We're a couple months in. And I think that they've shown us above all else that they know how to win. And so that's really what you can hang your hat on. You can have your quibbles with the roster, definitely still criticize where you think it's fair and criticize in a fair manner too. Don't be a complete dickhead to these guys. But overall, this is a team that I think since last year and even to an extent the year before that down the stretch, they've just shown that they know how to win the games or at least, come away with the big wins and keep stacking the 2 out of 3 RDT series wins. I think it speaks to a maturity that we were talking about the other night. We don't think they're all the way there. They could maybe use a little more sand, maybe get another veteran into the mix here, whether it's by trade or free agency next year. But even as, with the youth that they have and as, relatively inexperienced as they still are, they know how to win and they know how to win series. And that's going to take them far, at least as far as the regular season is concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I'm trying to find it now. There was a tweet. I think it was this guy, Rob Daniels. I think that's his name. He does some good Orioles stats on Twitter. He tweeted out, and it was going into today's game, or after yesterday's game, the Orioles had won 127 of their last 200 games. And it was like their best 200 game stretch since 1983. It was, it ended obviously in 1983 or whatever. That 200 games is a long sample size, but he was like, we haven't seen a run like this from the Orioles in, what is that, 41 years.
Right.
So it was interesting. And again, it's like they're playing very, very, very good baseball. And the starters, that's the thing, the starters are just getting so under. I mean, no one's talking about them, but every night it's just like Dean had the one blow up inning today. They could have gotten out of it. It's whatever. Like that's their first bad inning that starters have had in a while. But it's like they're just consistently playing really, really, really good baseball for almost 2 years now. And like this is no longer like, when are the Orioles going to fade? Like, when is this going to fall apart? Because it's not. I think this is just obviously who they are, and you know, it's. I think going into today, they were on pace to win 110 games. Obviously, they're not going to keep that pace up, but you know, like we said after the Pittsburgh series, it was like, oh my, they got walked off twice against Pittsburgh. Like, man, what are we going to do? You know, now the Royals are coming into town. Like, this is going to be a mess. And all they've done is win series ever since. Like, oh, and then what do? They drop a series to Milwaukee. What do? They bounce back and they sweep Minnesota. You know, they sweep Boston in Boston. Like, they just have a way of pulling it out when they need to. You know, they lose against Oakland. Everyone's like, God damn it, our bullpen sucks. We need to fix this. The Yankees are coming in 3 out of 4. Like, they rise to the occasion. It seems like more times than not.
Yeah, there's a certain magic to the fact, and like the standards have been raised for this club, and well that they should be, people should hold them to a high standard. But we can't lose sight of the fact that if we had been doing this podcast together 2 years ago, and you obviously were with the other guys, if you had been recapping every single one of those series, the idea of coming on after they get to 26-13, and we just got this low T Jeb Bush like reaction to, you know, them winning a 2-1 series against the Diamondbacks, who were awesome the last couple of years. Like, I mean, it's, you know, you can't lose sight of that fact. So yeah, I mean, definitely some things still to clean up, but overall the results just continue to speak for themselves. And I hope that we have a lot more series recaps just like this one moving forward.
Yeah. And again, I'm looking, we talked about it earlier, but the trade stuff, MLB deadline news. So I've seen them around. I don't know how they're a legit account. But Bob Nightingale, who people like to crap on, it says the Orioles are interested in the following relievers: Ryan Helsley. I don't know how to pronounce his name from the Cardinals. Helsley. Helsley, I guess. Sure. Jordan Romano from the Blue Jays, and Ryan Presley from the Astros. So again, as we get towards June, July, that's when things are going to start picking up. And I think those are 3 names to kind of keep an eye on to go from there. But again, this team is not done. This is not, you know, again, people forget, like they're going to add Jackson Holiday at some point. Now it's like, again, we don't talk about that because Mateo is playing so well, but you know, with Ramon Urias making that play today or not making the play, you know, people are now like, we got to bring Kobe Mayo up, and I don't know. But again, they're going to add guys. They're going to keep playing well. They're going to keep pitching well. And you know, again, what June is, I think, is the tough part of the schedule, right? That month is. Yeah. So if you can finish out this month, again, you know, the next 3 weeks and just play really good baseball, can keep continuing to win series, kind of just tread water in June. And then from there, it's kind of lift off. It's go from here. So, you know, again, they just have to keep doing what they're doing. And if you've paid any attention to this team, I don't think there's any reason to believe that they won't just keep, you know, trucking along like that.
Absolutely. So before we get out of here, any dogs of the series for you, my friend?
Just Jordan Westburg. It has to be. It's, you know, the 4-hit game, the walk-off. He can do it all. I love Jim Palmer's like Westburg Avenue out in left center field, because I said it's almost like he's like at Topgolf, and they have like, you know, the hole, and then the 50-point ring, and then the 30-point ring, and the 20-point ring, and the 10-point ring, and he's just trying to see if he can get it in there. It's just like he's addicted to hitting balls there, and it's because it's the way he runs. It's a double every time, and there's a decent chance that it's going to be a triple too. He's done that before. He's just, and we talked about it on Wednesday, but like everything he does is so fundamentally sound. And he's just everything. He's just so pure. Everything is as professional as it gets. Even his interview after the game, where it's like, he's talking like this, and he's like, it's a really good win, and I'm just really happy that we were able to put, like, he's like, he just had a walk-off, and he's like, yeah, that was a great time. And, you know, like he was excited talking about Kimbrel than he was talking about his walk-off. So he's just a pro's pro, Mississippi State. He's an absolute bulldog. So I love, and he flies so under the radar. It's insane. I said it before. Gunner's the best player on the team. I think Westburg is by far the best hitter on and you know, start getting your Westburg All-Star jerseys ready, because I think he'll be hell, I mean, he could be starting third baseman in the All-Star game. So great. It was a great series for him. He's fun to watch, so I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I keep talking about these opposing broadcasts that I'm either enjoy watching or I'm subjected to, and without pretty much any exception, like it's like there's a certain incredulity to like the bottom of this batting order at times. It's like, Westburg, he's batting 8th, he's hitting whatever awesome percentage.
306.
Yeah,
he's hitting 307 hole.
Yeah, he's like, it's another first round pick, and there's Colton Cowser, another first round pick, went 7 overall. Like these guys are just like they're coming off the conveyor belt. And he does have a tendency to get lost in the shuffle because of that and because of the fact that he's quieter. But you're right, deserves all the flowers right now, especially after a big series. I'll do it. I'll go with Uncle Craig. I'll get he showed some dog there. Whatever he said to Hyde, like you said, and to go out there and to get it done, even despite a little bit of a rough start. It was a far cry from what we saw in Washington when he's slamming his fist into the mound and pouting a little bit. That was a true consummate professional performance by him the other night. So nice to see him get back onto the good side of things, and hopefully it's a manifest for maybe even a chance at another closing attempt sooner rather than later. But we'll see about that. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Overall, just nice to see him come back, and it was nice to tweet the picture out again.
Yeah, I know you were missing that, so I'm happy. Friday night again, I was at the game. And so I wasn't on my phone as much. And I was like, literally after he left after he came out, I was like, I wonder if he did the thing. Like, lo and behold, I got on Twitter and I saw it. So I'm proud of that. But did you, again, his press conference when the media talked to him yesterday, Kimbrel at his locker, he was like huffing and puffing in the locker room. This game ended 30 minutes earlier. And he's like, he was like, it sounded like he was like laboring to talk. I was like, I don't know if, again, he was emotional or, if it was all kind of just hitting him, but he like couldn't catch his breath.
There might be something with those massive mics. I remember some nights in college after a late game when I maybe would have had, indulged in some substances, and I would be kind of drifting in and out of sleep. And I would just hear Buck like sitting behind the table, and like there would be like these long pauses because that's just how Buck is. And he'll say something, and then he would just kind of leave it out there. Like, you don't know if he's done yet. So it'd just be.
Well, he had the nose whistle too. Buck had the nose whistle. He could hear it like whistle. That was my favorite.
The most grandfather move of all time, just right in the massive mics. And it's just like, yeah, that's very interesting. So maybe it's part of that, but I don't know.
I'm telling you, it's on YouTube. I would go back and watch it. It seemed like he was like out of breath, or again, like his adrenaline was wearing off and he was kind of like coming to, like out of this, I don't know, mindset or something, but he was like really laboring to talk. But again, I part of me thinks that he was just like, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that and won the game. And
could still be hurt. I mean, I don't know.
Could be, yeah. But I don't know.
Okay. Well, we got our dogs out of the way. We got our recap out of the way. Anything more before we get out of the way?
No, just a fun series. Again, a lot of people, it was a good time at Pickles on Friday. Trying to think, a couple podcast listeners came up and talked, and it was a good way to start the homestand. And again, I'm hoping that this whole week is filled with, there's another giveaway on Friday, like 50th anniversary jerseys or 1970 jerseys or something like that. So that should be popular. But, again, if you can get out there this week, I think it's going to be a better weather week. I know tomorrow's going to be like in the 60s. Let me see. Mike Francesa podcast, 62, 76, 72. All right. So rain Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe Saturday. So, 73, 75 on Thursday and Friday. So again, if you can get out there, go to the game, fill these seats up. It was a good crowd, even with the weather on Friday. Today was like 31,000. That was an awesome crowd. Weird weather again, but yeah, again, get your ass out there and go see these boys.
Stan Lee. Who is Stan Lee?
Who cares?
Who is he?
Who cares?
Who is he? He just he insists upon it. He's the creator of Marvel Comics.
He had that like in his head. He was like, who cares? Before he was like, the inventor or like the founder of, and he was who cares? He was like, he could have said the computer. He could have said the internet. And he's like, I don't care. Like he didn't care that it was Marvel Comics or DC.
Michael, the WBC. It's patriotic.
Wouldn't watch it if it was in my backyard.
There's nothing patriotic about it. There's nothing real about it.
Too funny.
All right, I'm going to go watch that for the millionth time and die laughing for the millionth time. But thank you all for tuning in to, like I said, this low T effort here on a Sunday night. But we got it done. Nice little half-hour recap for you of the Orioles series versus the Diamondbacks, which they take 2-1. even after a disappointing loss today on Mother's Day, but that's okay. They're coming right back around to take on the Blue Jays for the early week series, and then Mariners coming to town next weekend. So get hyped for that. In the meantime, you can subscribe to us on YouTube if you liked what you saw. We would really prefer that and appreciate it if you did it. Get that algorithm pumping for us by liking and commenting on all our videos that you come across. We'd really appreciate that as well. You can find us on social media at Extra 52 Podcast across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I am at Jake Luke on Twitter. That's LOUQUE. Eric is at EDITTI22. Spenny's at Ravens 4 Dummies. That's the number 4. Brian at Barstool Banks. And Taylor at Taylor Smythe 10. We'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. See you.